Welcome back to Series Recapes. Today I am going to explain a sci-fi series called Raising Dion 2019. Be ready for some twists are ahead. Episode 1 of Raising Dion is arguably the worst episode of the series. With a smattering of hip-hop tracks and a fluttering tone between light and dark, Raising Dion does well to set the stage but doesn't do a whole lot else. We begin with a mother narrating her trials and tribulations in raising her son Dion. In the heart of Atlanta at 7:15 a.m., we see Nicole preparing for school while Dion eats his breakfast. The house is a mess, and it's here Dion watches in awe as he seemingly controls time and suspends his cereal in midair. At 7:34 a.m., Dion manages to elevate rubbish on either side of the road as Nicole drives him to school. When they get there, she sees firsthand that Dion is ignored by the other kids before hurrying back to her car where she receives the bad news that she's been fired. Joking about Dion's skin color, telling her friends that he's like 2 raisins in a glass of milk. We cut back and forth from the school to Nicole's conversation with her friends as we see them both struggling. Desperate to fit in, Dion heads to the skate park as a slow-motion shot of him performing a skateboarding trick sees the other kids in awe, until Nicole shows up and embarrasses him. Heading home, she sees Pat, his godfather, outside who offers to help her out. She reluctantly agrees as she breathes a deep sigh of relief and has a flashback involving her husband creating a Faraday cage. At the restaurant, Pat and Dion connect over comic books before the conversation turns to his father, where we learn, through a large dose of exposition, how good at science he was. Bringing Dion home after their dinner, Pat leaves before her son shows his powers firsthand. As items float and swirl around her, he loses control before everything eventually drops to the ground. Cole decides to take him to the hospital to get checked out, but after a fruitless visit, she heads back home where we learn more about Dion's father, Mark. After watching a recorded video message, they decide to honor his memory and head down to the lake. It's here we also learn Nicole used to be a ballet dancer. While out on the lake, Dion attempts in vain to control his powers, changing from the wondrous levitating fish and water bubbles through to him being hit by a tree as everything chaotically falls out of his control. In the middle of the night, Dion awakens to numerous ghostly spirits outside, rain people as he calls them. Mark's spirit appears soon after and tells Nicole to leave with Dion, where we leave the episode. Episode 2 of Raising Dion begins after the dramatic events during the night as the sun rises and Nicole phones Charlotte Tuck, a woman who may know more about Mark's work. As she leaves a voicemail for her to phone back, it turns out Charlotte was listening to the whole time. Detective Miller arrives soon after, asking about the storm and informing us that a lady went missing by the lake. Telling her to phone if anything comes up, she leaves as Nicole phones Pat and tells him the news. Agreeing to help, Nicole hangs up and speaks to Dion about his powers in the morning. Dion chased a squirrel and wanted to catch her, but she climbed onto the tree. And with magic, Dion could also sit on the tree branch. However, Dion got scared and got a breath problem. Nicole brought an inhaler and stairs and rescued him. Meanwhile, she got a call from Kat, who found a job for Nicole, but she demanded time to teach Dion to control his powers. Many people want to grab this job, so she has to go recently to have this job. Dion also later wrote to his father and told him they were returning. Nicole doesn't allow Dion to go to school because she doesn't want any more trouble in her life. Nicole's powers were out of control and medical insurance also ran out, that's why they faced many issues. The shopkeeper was demanding a massive amount for Dion's inhaler and Dion wanted to make chocolate. Nicole added buy chocolate because chocolate was attractive to Dion and 3 more chocolates were chasing them when they came out of the store. Hence, they have to run out of this mall. Nicole brought Dion with him for the interview, which was her big mistake. During the interview, her sole attention was on Dion. Dion was playing a game with Pat and telling him about his powers, but he was not taking it seriously. Unfortunately, the mobile phone shut down and Dion played with things in the office. Nicole couldn't restrain herself when she saw the office chair flying. She had to drop the interview, which was a sign that she could not get this job. Nicole tells Kat about Dion's superpowers, but she is not ready to believe her. Luckily, no one saw the chair swinging in the air, so she took Dion home. Meanwhile, Kat called Pat and asked Nicole if she had shared anything. Nicole didn't share anything with Pat, that's why he was unaware of it, and Kat also hid Dion's power mystery. However, she gave the task to Pat to check out what was happening in her house with Nicole, and Pat was famous for her sticky habits. Pat's girlfriend also left him because he was so annoying, and he is ready to help others. Nicole was working in her house so Dion could float things in the air, but he was only 8 years old, so it wasn't easy to make him understand. George wanted a bird's eye view of the house because using a drill machine was banned according to Georgie's rules. Nicole was rescued by her neighbor Tessa, who discussed Tap and his annoying behavior. Dion was searching for a costume to change his appearance, like Superman, Spider-Man, and other superheroes. Esperanza came into the wheelchair to meet with Dion, and she considered Dion her best friend, but Dion didn't. Pat came here and brought food for them, but Nickel was rude to him because he called her a train wreck who stole his best friend. Pat wants to solve this mystery, apologize to her, and clear his reputation. Meanwhile, Dion saw that a little girl's toy had fallen. He wanted to give her back, but he went outside in front of the car. The car was about to hit him, but he vanished and he was in the arms of Nickel. Pat was also surprised by seeing this unbelievable scene. Episode 3 starts when Pat provokes him to make his toys float in the air. But Dion says that things don't want to fly, which means that things float in the air because they want it. However, Pat was Dion's best friend who convinced Dion to make the toys fly, but the result was the same. He had no control over them. Pat became Dion's and wanted to know the power of Dion, but Nicole just wanted to learn about Dion's control over his mind mover's forces. Nicole makes him sleep and promises that if he can control his power, he can go to school. Nicole was so scared by seeing the car almost crush Dion that she couldn't stop her tears, and Tap embraced her. Tao also gives her suggestion that he needs a tool or device that will assist him in focusing on his power as TV characters have. Nicole also takes out his father's watch and tells him that because of this watch, his dad remains focused and can control his powers. However, the Conflax whom he had in control, he could manage through this watch. Nicole wants to take his ultimate test with Twix by taking him into the shop. Although Twix was his favorite chocolate, he wanted to go to school. So control over his power, and Doom was going out without chasing the chocolates. Nicole took him to the school where she was ready to become a volunteer so that she could keep an eye on him. On the other hand, the science teacher was teaching them static energy and told him that he would participate in all school science programs. Dion tells them that his dad won this competition when he was in the 8th standard. Mr. Fry asks them to solve the problem with science as the project they need to deal with. When they got the break, Jonathan demanded Dion's watch to show him a magic trick before Dion was unwilling to give him but forced him to share it. Jonathan disappeared with the standard scheme and refused to provide him with watch back to Dion. Dion becomes mad and with his power throws him on the wall. Mr. Campbell punishes only Dion to stay in detention for an hour. In addition, he wants to suspend him for 4 days, but Mr. Fry, the science teacher, helps them sort out this matter. Jonathan says that Dion, you always talk about your dad, which makes me pissed. Kat also suggests that she should tell him it was all occurring because he had a black complexion. Nicole was not ready to say to him because H was just 7 years old. When Nicole sat with her friend, she got a call from Charlotte, who called her into Perkerson Park in 20 minutes. She wants to meet with Charlotte. That's why he gives the responsibility of Dion to Pat, who was talking with Susan to provide him with the responsibility to deal with the Project Mark, but he was an engineer, that's why he can't enter into a science lab. Nicole reached the decided location where were many people. That's why Charlotte asked her to meet behind the house. Charlotte also has power that she revealed when she told about Dion. She doubts they all got New Orleans abilities in the Aurora event. Nicole was surprised to know that Mike also has a superpower that he didn't tell him. Charlotte also tells her there is nothing between them, but they talk with each other because both suffer from the same situation. Dion inherited these powers from his father, and Nicole taunted Charlotte that she was the reason for Mark's death. Mark was about to reach the reason for this power, but the storm killed him. Charlotte was also terrified of the storm when Nicole told her that she saw Mike in the cabin. Pat was teaching Dion to control this power, and he took him on the baseball where he gave him the first lesson. His first lesson was that he should do the magic without revealing it to the citizens. Dion takes out his watch and puts the ball into the basket with charm. When Nicole came home, Pat was at home. She also shared the Charlotte meeting with him. She also doubted that because he was in the ice place where Mark got his superpower. Unfortunately or fortunately, he was in the yard and performed his duties so that he couldn't get the powers. He asked Charlotte's number many times, but Nicole didn't give him. Nicole also makes Dion understand that people tease or push him back because of his complexion, but he will not give him a chance to do it. Charlotte sent him a video in which there was a horrible storm while she was running. The first 3 episodes end here. Thanks for watching.